Lena, a 22-year-old student, moved into a cheap rented room inside an old Victorian house on the outskirts of Portland. The owner, an elderly woman named Mrs. Grayson, greeted her at the door with tired, sunken eyes. While handing over the keys, she said only one strange thing: never look into the mirror after midnight. Lena laughed awkwardly, assuming it was some old superstition. She needed a place to stay, and the room was cheap, so she didn't think much about it. That night, rain lashed against the windows, and the house creaked like it was breathing. Around 11:45 p.m., Lena heard slow, dragging footsteps in the hallway. She opened the door quickly, thinking it was another tenant, but the hall was empty and completely silent. When she returned to her bed, she caught the mirror's reflection from the corner of her eye. There was a faint handprint on it on the inside of the glass. She wiped it and told herself she was imagining things. At exactly 12:03 a.m., her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared. "Don't look behind the mirror." She looked around, confused and scared. She checked every corner of the room, but there was no one. She eventually convinced herself it was some prank and fell asleep. The second night was worse. At midnight, the footsteps returned slow, heavy, dragging, stopping right outside her room. Lena held her breath. The mirror in her room began to fog up, even though the air was ice cold and she wasn't breathing anywhere near it. Slowly, words appeared on the foggy surface. "I see you." Lena's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She watched the fog shift again. More words formed. "Turn around." Her hands shook uncontrollably. She forced herself to look behind her. Nothing. When she turned back to the mirror, she saw a tall, dark figure standing behind her inside the reflection, staring directly at her with hollow, shadowy eyes. Lena spun around in terror again. Nothing. Just silence. The next morning, terrified, she confronted Mrs. Grayson. The old woman's face turned pale when Lena demanded answers. After a long silence, Mrs. Grayson whispered, "That mirror belonged to my son. He died in that room decades ago, but his reflection never left." Lena stepped back, horrified. Mrs. Grayson continued in a trembling voice, "Anyone who looks into that mirror after midnight becomes part of it." Lena shouted at her, demanding why she even rented the room out. The old woman looked at her sadly and said, "Because once the mirror chooses someone, it's already too late." That night, Lena tried to leave the house, but every time she stepped near the exit, the lights flickered violently and the hallway grew colder. Terrified, she locked herself in her room and kept every light on. As the clock struck 12 o'clock a.m., the entire room vibrated with a low hum, and the mirror began shaking as if something was pushing from the inside. Then came the knocking. Thunk, 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 slow, deliberate, coming from inside the mirror.